The altimeter's wailing like a banshee, but it's got nothing on the voice in my head screaming, "You're a fool, Jake." A spectacular, soon-to-be jobless fool. Below me, Route 17 stretches out like a gray ribbon, basking in the morning sun, oblivious to the fact it's about to become a landing strip for my citation jet. A touch more rudder, and I'm lined up. My hands are sweating, gripping the yoke so tight my knuckles glow white. The coastal cliffs are kicking up wind shear that's tossing my wings like a kid with a kite. Beside me, Carlos, my co-pilot, is the picture of calm, sipping his black coffee like we're on a Sunday drive. For a highway, he says, deadpan, it's got more potholes than my Tia's driveway. I glance down. Is that a plastic flamingo stuck in the median? Knowing this town, probably. If we clip it, I mutter, you're writing the report for the FAA. The jet's tires hit the asphalt with a screech that could wake a coma patient. I brace myself, half expecting a cow to wander into our path. This whole mess, like most of my messes, started with a client who's more trouble than he's worth and my own desperate need for cash. 10 minutes earlier, I'd been yelling over the engine's roar. Can this thing go any faster, Carlos? We were bucking through turbulence over the moody Oregon coastline, the kind that makes you question your life choices. My client, Dr. Mortimer, was on the sat phone, his voice shrill enough to crack glass. Something about time-critical organic material, and how, if it's not delivered pristine, I'll be lucky to fly a kite, let alone a jet. Carlos, who's logged more air miles than a flock of geese, just took another sip from his thermos. She'll hold, Jake. Always does. This plane's got soul. He patted the dashboard like it was his old dog. Besides, you're the one who took that detour over the Cascades last month for Mrs. Larson and her award-winning bonsai, Mr. Sprout. Added a solid hour. That was different, I shot back. Mr. Sprout was fragile, and Mrs. Larson tips like a queen. Mortimer, he pays enough to make me ignore his tantrums. His voice from the call still echoed high-pitched, panicked. If this package is late, a global biotech syndicate and their very cranky CEO will have you scrubbing barnacles off fishing boats in Alaska. The radio crackled. Citation 7 Bravo Kilo. This is Cloverdale Tower. Emma on the mic. How's my favorite rule breaker doing this fine Tuesday morning? Emma's voice was like warm whiskey, and she knew exactly how to get under my skin. We went way back, mostly her lecturing me on aviation laws I was bending into pretzels. Still airborne, Emma, despite your best efforts, I quipped. What's the latest nightmare you've got planned for me? She chuckled, a sound that almost made me forget the pit in my stomach. No rogue seagulls today, hotshot, but we've got weird ground reports near the airport. Looks like a pop-up block party on Route 17, right by the Cloverdale exit. Your ground transport might hit a snag. A block party? Probably just Farmer Jenkins forgetting to lock his sheep pen again. I wasn't worried. Sheep I could handle. Oh, how wrong I was. As we descended toward Cloverdale Regional Airport, Route 17 came into VYEW, and it wasn't just busy, it was a standstill. Cars were parked at odd angles. And were those people setting up picnic tables? Emma, you seeing this? I barked, banking for a better look. Route 17 looks like a tailgate for a bake-off. Is that a lemonade stand? Her voice turned sharp. Confirmed, 7 Bravo Kilo. Local HOA queen, Linda Carson, has shut down the highway. Claims it's for an emergency organ transplant convoy needing a sterile corridor. Carlos nearly spat his coffee. An organ transplant on Route 17? No FAA notice. No ad VY sorry, nada. That's shadier than the diner's clam chowder. My mind raced. The airport was just past this chaos. My ground transport for Mortimer's package couldn't get through. We couldn't get to the airport if the roads were blocked. Mortimer will carve me up with a butter knife, I muttered. I circled, fuel gauge flirting with empty. The package in the hold-a-fancy cooler was, per Mortimer's frantic instructions, fragile and time-sensitive. Something about biochemical volatility that sounded like it'd spoil if you sneezed on it. Options were vanishing faster than my SAVYNGS. The main airport road was a no-go. A back road might be clogged with rerouted traffic. Mortimer's version of disappointed usually involved lawsuits and maybe a hitman. Airport's that way, I said, pointing through the windshield. Highway's right here. It's long enough, straight enough, and Linda's cleared one lane, whether she meant to or not. Carlos lowered his thermos, his voice flat. You're not thinking what I think you're thinking, Jake. I grinned, reckless. Mortimer said, by any means necessary, when he handed me that suitcase of cash. Also mentioned a bonus for early delivery and a long swim in concrete boots if I'm late. This highway's looking like a runway. The FAA will chew our licenses for lunch, Carlos warned. Only if they catch us, I shot back. And only if Linda doesn't get me first with a garden hose. I keyed the mic, decision made. Facing Mortimer empty-handed with a ruined package was worse than bankruptcy. My finances were already a mess, thanks to my Uncle Ted's surefire investment in artisanal kelp smoothies for pets. Don't ask. Emma, sweetheart, I said, faking confidence. Citation 7 Bravo kilos declaring an emergency. Low fuel and, critical cargo stability issues. We're putting her down on Route 17, north of the Cloverdale exit. Mind telling other traffic to take a detour? Silence. Then, faintly, say again, 7 Bravo Kilo? You're landing on Route 17? The one with cars and speed limits. I heard her headset hit the desk, and that's how I pulled off the slickest, most illegal landing of my life. Threading the needle between a rusty RV and a row of traffic cones that looked stolen from a kid's soccer game. The jet stopped, wings brushing Linda's makeshift barricades. Silence fell, broken only by squawking gulls and distant sirens. Showtime, I whispered, popping the hatch. The air hit messalty, hot asphalt, and was that Patchouli? Stepping onto the highway, my boots felt alien on the gritty surface. There she was, Linda Carson, storming toward me in a neon orange blazer, clutching a clipboard like a battle axe. Her face was pure fury, her bob haircut quivering. Young man, she bellowed through a megaphone she'd pulled from nowhere. Do you realize what you've done? This is a sanctioned emergency organ transfer zone, authorized under the Cloverdale Community Wellness Code of '99. I blinked. Lady, unless that organ's for a mutant whale delivered by stunt kites, you're a few screws loose. I've got the real-time sensitive cargo here. I jabbed a thumb at the jet. And that wellness code? It's about rogue lawn ornaments and tacky birdhouses. I checked. Slow day. Linda's face went from red to a shade that could stop traffic. I'm Linda Carson, HOA president. I have authority over this corridor. Carlos leaned out the cockpit, unfazed. That come with a free cookie, ma'am? That landing left me peckish, and my coffee's cold. Before Linda could unleash a tirade, sirens roared. Sheriff Malone, a man who looked like he'd been sole VYing small-town dramas since the Reagan era, stepped from his cruiser. What in blazes is going on? He groaned, adjusting his crooked hat. He took in the scene. My jet parked like a bad art installation, Linda shaking like a leaf, and gawkers snapping photos. Ma'am, you can't block a state highway with lawn chairs and a petition. And you, he turned to me. Eyes wide, did you land a jumbo jet on my road? Citation, Sheriff. Smaller, nimbler, smooth landing, asked Carlos. Also, she started it. I pointed at Linda, who was now trying to ticket a seagull on her barricade. The next half hour was pandemonium. I pleaded with Malone, stressing urgent, perishable, and client with deep pockets and a short temper. Linda kept interrupting, ranting about HOA rules, self-proclaimed emergency zones, and my alleged crimes, including endangering Mrs. Peterson's prized dahlias. I gestured to the cooler Carlos was unloading with exaggerated care. Sheriff, this is for Dr. Mortimer. He's at the airfield, probably wearing a hole in the pavement. It's life or death or at least stupidly expensive if it goes bad. Malone rubbed his temples. Mortimer, the nut who tried to smuggle Brazilian whistling crickets for his therapeutic soundscape last year, kept the town awake for a week. I nodded. The same. Can we get this to the airport? I'll answer questions with a lawyer and a stiff drink. Linda, now filming for her non-existent fan base, narrated, we have a rogue pilot, folks, a menace to our serene hamlet, possibly smuggling contraband and blocking a VY-Tal organ route. Then, the organ convoy arrived. Not sleek ambulances, but a beat-up pickup with a flickering yellow light. A frazzled vet climbed out, holding a cooler labeled Baxter's Liver Urgent. Handle with care or Mrs. Larson will end us. He stared at Linda. Mrs. Carson, I got your call, but a police escort to Dr. Fremont's clinic would have done fine. This, he waved at the jet, cop cars, and circus-like chaos was overkill. Linda deflated for a split second, then rallied. It's about principle, respect for emergency routes, even citizen-declared ones. Before I could poke holes in her logic, an electric golf cart screeched up. Dr. Mortimer, in a velvet bathrobe and what looked like cowboy boots, nearly flattened a cone. He was Lee Vyd. Jake, you fool. My sourdough starter, is it safe? Did you maintain 67 degrees Fahrenheit and 60 fan tram humidity? I gaped. Carlos, guarding the cooler, turned slowly, his face a mix of shock and exhaustion. You're what, Doc? I croaked. Mortimer clutched his heart. My 200-year-old Oregon Trail sourdough starter. A legacy of 7 generations. It's unique bacteria fed with heirloom wheat flour every 5 hours, or it dies. I've got the Global Bread Bash in Portland tomorrow. It's a cultural relic. Carlos shook his head and retreated to the jet, probably for the emergency tequila. I faced Malone, deadpan. See, Sheriff? Life or death. For bread. Malone stared from Mortimer to me to the cooler, then back. He sighed, pinching his nose. Get that dough off my highway, Mortimer. And you? He jabbed a finger at me. You're grounded. Jet's impounded. We'll talk regulations at the station after I've had coffee and a nap. My jet became Route 17's newest roadside attraction. Mortimer, after arguing with Malone about exhaust fumes stressing the yeast, sped off with his starter like it was a newborn. Linda gave an interview to a confused local blogger, casting herself as the town's SAVY or, and me, as its VY lane. Later, at the Rusty Spoon Diner, Carlos and I nursed lukewarm coffee. He'd charmed a rookie cop into thinking he was my emotional support co-pilot. For a guy flying million-dollar jets, Carlos said, stirring his cup, you sure attract the weirdest trouble. I groaned, head on the sticky table. Blame Uncle Ted. His kelp smoothie fiasco left me broke, so I took on Mortimer's gigs and bought that crumbling hangar at Cloverdale's edge. The hangar was my Dreama boutique charter terminal, maybe a flight school. A fresh start. It was a wreck, but cheap. I'd hired Vince Malone, no relation to the sheriff, a contractor whose truck looked like it'd serve VY vet a war. This your castle? He'd grunted, eyeing the hangar's holes. Seen better shipwrecks. I'd laughed, praying no bats flew out. Can you make it less like a haunted barn before the bank forecloses? Vince flicked his cigarette into a puddle. For your budget? I'll make it a fancy haunted barn. My crew's good, cheap, and don't ask questions. Vince's plan was solid salvaged materials, sketchy fixtures, and a crew that looked like they'd rob a liquor store. But it was working until Linda struck. She showed up at the hangar, clipboard in hand, her eyes gleaming. Mr. Jake, she purred, this renovation VY OLAT's Cloverdale Aesthetic Bylaw 9, Section C VY Sewell Coherence near residential zones. Vince, wrestling a raccoon out of the rafters, snorted. It's a hangar, lady. It's metal and bolts. What's cohesive about rusty girders? Linda wasn't fazed. Your paint scheme's too bold. I've had complaints about noise, light pollution, and disruption to the rare spotted owl's nesting habits. She meant Mrs. Peterson, who thought my cat was a government spy. Linda threatened protests and red tape. Sure enough, her siege began. Tiny protests Linda, Peterson, and a few reluctant HOA cronies with signs like "Hangars harm owls" sprang up. Vince's crew found it funny at first. Yo, boss, one guy tank laughed. Green lady says my drill's upsetting the worms. Wants me to use a foam mallet. Another, Scar, grumbled. She says my toolbox placement VY OLAT's the scenic VY STA for drivers on Route 4. But Linda's tactics worked. Supplies vanished. Permits got lost. I was sure she was pulling strings in county offices. I was a wreck snapping at everyone, levying on stale muffins, ready to sell the hangar and flee to Alaska. Carlos saved me. One day, as I stared at Linda's latest complaint, my hangar's shadow was stressing Mrs. Mortimer's roses. He sat on a crate, pouring coffee. Reminds me of '99 in Peru, he said. We were stuck in a jungle, surrounded by a cartel boss who wanted our cargo or our heads. Rained like hell, too. I blinked. And he grinned. His sister loved old westerns. We had a VHS of High Noon in the hold. Traded it for safe passage. Point is, Jake, there's always a way. Find Linda's High Noon. His story snapped me out of it. I'd landed on a highway, damn it. I could handle one HOA tyrant. The final battle came fast. Mortimer called, frantic. The bread bash had moved up due to a clash with a lumberjack poetry slam. He needed to fly in 2 days, but my jet was still impounded, tangled in Linda's bureaucratic web. Worse, Vince pulled me aside. That navigation system we need to certify the hangar? Stuck in customs. Irregular paperwork. Smells like Carson. Without it, no certification, no flights, no Mortimer, no hangar. The bank would seize it. Linda appeared, smug as ever. Such a pity about your equipment, Mr. Jake. Almost like the universe is saying certain eyesores don't belong here. She offered a deal, abandon the hangar, and her issues would vanish. I was done. Slumped on a paint can, I felt defeated. Carlos offered coffee. Vince muttered about cousins who know people. Emma, hearing the news via the town grape VYNE, called. She's got us, I said. No NAV system, no hangar, no jet, no Mortimer. It's over. Vince perked up. Customs, eh? My cousin Joey's guy, Biggie, can expedite things. For a price, and no questions. Emma's voice crackled. Jake, do saw not saw call anyone named Biggie. That's how you end up in a black van. But she added, I might know a way to move your jet. Legally. Involves a crane, a flatbed, and a favor from the county works chief, who's dying for poetry slam tickets. A spark flared. I looked at Carlos, who raised an eyebrow. At Vince, dialing Joey. At the phone with Emma. A grin spread. Folks, let's fight crazy with crazier. The next 48 hours were madness. Biggie, a human tank, freed the NAV system from customs with finesse and a bill that hurt my soul. He offered to prune Linda's roses, which I declined. Emma worked miracles the county chief, Mr. Fremont, got his poetry tickets, and my jet was craned onto a massive flatbed, ribboned like a parade float. Vince's crew, fueled by pizza and chaos, installed the NAV system. The hangar started looking like a real terminal. Flight day dawned foggy. I'd called a press conference, emailed Cloverdale's blogger, Mabel Murray, and taped a flyer at the diner. Linda sat front row, expecting my downfall. Mrs. Peterson knitted what looked like a jet-shaped hex doll. Then, the flatbed rolled in, my jet gleaming under a giant bow. I grabbed Vince's old mic. Ladies and gentlemen, behold the flagship of Cloverdale Air Ventures, launching from our new, Linda Carson-proof hangar. The NAV system hummed. Emma texted, FAA certification cleared. My aunt's friend at the regional office loves poetry slams. You owe me dinner. Mortimer arrived, fussing over his starter's ionic balance. Linda leapt up. This is outrageous. That jet was impounded, and that equipment was detained. Sheriff Malone stepped in, smiling. All complaints were dropped, Mrs. Carson, due to extraordinary circumstances involving a national baking treasure. Jet's move was legal permit for oversized transport. With Mortimer whining about cabin humidity, Carlos and I taxied out. As we climbed, I keyed the mic. Emma still there? Always, Jake. Keeping you out of jail. You're hard to hate. Dinner when I'm not a dough smuggler. Keep it on a runway, hotshot. Below, Linda was ranting to Mabel, arms flailing. Then, a flock of gulls, spooked by our engines, dive-bombed her pristine blazer and bouffant. Carlos chuckled. Karma, Jake. Or just well-aimed bird crap. I laughed, tension melting. Some days, Carlos, we actually win. The hangar's still a work in progress. My wallet's thinner than a napkin. Mortimer's on the sat phone, griping about air quality and his yeast's mood. But for once, I felt hope. And a weird craving for sourdough. Carlos, I said, eyeing Portland's skyline. How about painting the hangar neon pink with green flames? He groaned, pouring coffee. Some things never change. So what do you think? Was Jake a reckless hero or a danger to society? Should Linda's HOA reign be stopped, or was she right to fight for her town? And that sourdough cultural treasure or overhyped bread? Drop your thoughts below, hit like if you're Team Jake, and subscribe for more wild rides. Let's stir up some noise.